Hello and welcome to Punk 5 Pop. I'm Punk 5 and today we are going to talk about the story problems it looks like Halo Infinite might have. Now, if you're catching this video, odds are you have already seen the Infinite demo and the gameplay trailer that were released a couple days ago to, let's call it, mixed results. Mostly about the graphics. That seems to be the big topic of discussion right now, but I prefer to look at it from a story perspective, especially when everyone else is already going back and forth over the graphics and whether it's finished or not. But before I go too far, I do want to say up front that no, we know essentially nothing about the game's story yet, so the campaign could actually be excellent. I mean, as a massive Halo fan who's been playing the game since the release of CE, and I've read all the books. I've got them all on a shelf right behind me, actually. The comics, the podcasts, the Halo Forward Unto Dawn movie. I am desperately hoping for a good Halo game at this point. I mean, 4 story was not too bad. 5 was abysmal, but at least it had decent multiplayer. I'm still a little conflicted on multiplayer, but that's not what we're here for today. What is really making me worry is that in the first look at the story we've gone from the threat of Cortana's created AI armies swarming across the galaxy. I remember how to talk. Swarming across the galaxy, trying to, in their eyes, create an everlasting peace. And in the initial trailer we got for Halo Infinite, that seemed like it was still going to be the focus going into it. But now we are seeing a sudden switch to the Banished being the main threat. And if that was not enough, their leader, Atriox, who has actually become a little bit of a fan favorite character, has been apparently been killed off somewhere, no idea where, and has been replaced with a new brute chieftain whose name we don't know. We only just saw him in that 8-minute demo. So right there, I'm a little concerned. I mean, you're taking all of the antagonists you had before, the Created, Atriox, Julian Dama's Covenant Remnant, and you're just throwing all that out, throwing out the storyline that you've had so far from the games that introduced them, and this is a pattern that I've seen 343 studios have since they took over the franchise and started this Reclaimer trilogy. Instead of telling a single contained story inside of the game that is expanded upon in books and comics, they spread the story across 3 or 4 different types of media that you need to jump in and know very well before you even get to the actual game. I mean, going into Halo 4, you needed to read multiple books to understand who the Didact was, as well as the rest of the game's setting. Because going into that, no one had ever heard of the Didact. The Forerunners had been mentioned, but they were supposedly long, long dead. And now all of a sudden, out of nowhere, you have this big bad Forerunner trying to wipe out humanity. And if you hadn't read the Forerunner saga by, I believe it was Greg Bear who did that trilogy, it would have really thrown you as to what in the hell was going on. Just like with Jul Dama as well in Spartan Ops and the like, because if you didn't read the Karen Travis Kilo 5 trilogy, you didn't know who Jul Dama was or why you should care. And it didn't even matter in the end because they killed him off almost immediately in Halo 5. with no real fanfare or story behind it. So what I'm saying is, if you cannot tell me your story in just the game, movie, book, whatever medium your main story is in, you've failed right out of the gate. I mean, you can't just ask people, go read these 3 books, listen to this podcast, listen to the podcast sequel, find these in-game audio logs and video recordings, buy the comic books, follow little Easter eggs and trailers. It's all over the place, and no one is going to want to put that much effort in unless they're just a supremely diehard Halo fan like I am. Even then, though, it was frustrating me still that this is how it was handled. Instead of introducing all these story elements in the game and then expanding on it in books and whatnot, if you wanted to do it, they just went in the completely opposite direction. And it went over like freaking playing Elton John at a heavy metal concert. Not that I don't like Elton John, but you get what I mean. So rather than hearing feedback on the storytelling problems from fans about their last 2 games, it's looking like 343 Studios are staying the course. Like that tiny white girl who jumps into a mosh pit or gets bumped into it by her friends, thinking she's badass enough to be able to handle it, and she just ends up coming out covered in bruises and regret. That is basically what you're getting with 343's storytelling methods, and I can't blame anybody who doesn't want to do all that extra legwork for hating the story in the game. And you will likely never get fans to buy four or five forms of media to understand the story of a single game. They'll go buy Halo Infinite and then hit review sites like Metacritic whenever they will allow you to leave reviews, which is its own problem. And they'll be saying, the story made about as much sense as a Barbie cheerleader at a punk concert. It just doesn't. They have no idea why they should care about these characters, what the hell's going on, any of it. Going forward, I hope to be proven wrong about Halo Infinite's campaign, because if I'm not, there will be a totally different kind of headbanging happening in the Punk 5 pit, involving my head against my desk. I want Halo to be good again. We all want Halo to be good. We don't want them to come out and just keep dividing fan bases the same way that Star Wars, Star Trek, you name it, any big franchise last few years dividing the player base or the fan base. We didn't need that with Halo. It was in a rough enough state as it was. But going forward, from here, we're just going to have to hope that 343 has a better idea and that we just haven't seen enough of the story yet to know. Because that was just a demo. Odds are good that there's, well, maybe not good, but there's a decent chance that they're doing the story right. At least I hope so. But I want to hear what others have to say about this. Do you think Halo Infinite's story will be better than 343's last 2 games? Or do you think they will stick to their storytelling guns? Let me know in the comments below, and if you want to hear more ramblings of a madman, be sure to hit like and subscribe. Leave a comment if you like. I'd love to hear from you. Till next time, bye.